Now recognize the gentleman from Texas, Mr. Poe, for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. General, the way I see the Fast and Furious operation, based on all the information that I've received, is that the United States government, Justice Department, ATF, were aware of a situation where guns could be bought in the United States, serious weapons, automatic, semi-automatic, sniper rifles, bought by straw purchasers and were observed by federal authorities, wanted to watch the guns go to Mexico, go to the drug cartels, and see where they ended up. Here's how it ended up. 2,000 weapons, based upon the information that we've received from your department. 600 of those weapons are accounted for, majority are not accounted for. We don't know what country they're in and who's got them. But this operation is serious to me because people died with this ill-founded decision. We talk about the two Americans, the two agents, one Brian Terry, Jaime Zapata in Mexico, the two agents, but at least 200 Mexican nationals died too because of the United States watching these weapons, knowing where they were going, and lose those weapons. Mexican government that hasn't said a whole lot about this other than at least 200 Mexican nationals. Those Mexican nationals that were murdered because of our watching this illegal conduct are just as important as the two Americans that were murdered as well. And that's why this is a serious discussion. You're the Attorney General, you're a lawyer, former judge, prosecutor, you're the head guy in the United States when it comes to the Justice Department and law enforcement. My understanding is you didn't really know about the operation. The memos, you might have gotten the memo, didn't read the memo, or didn't read all the memo, not sure about that. But you're the person in charge of this, and believing that you were unaware of Operation Fast and Furious requires, to coin a phrase, a willing suspension of disbelief. It's hard for me to believe that you were unaware of this operation that went to Mexico. Now, my question is very simple. Who is the person in the United States government that made the decision of an Operation Fast and Furious to facilitate the guns going to Mexico? Who is that one person?
We don't know yet.
So you don't know who was responsible for the conduct of these thousands of guns going to Mexico? We don't know who that is?
We know that the case was opened in the ATF office in Phoenix a month or so before it was opened in the U.S. Attorney's office in Phoenix. We know that it was given OCDETF status sometime after that. But we do not know as yet who the particular person was, to the extent it is a person, in either of those offices that said this is the way in which this operation, this flawed operation, should be conducted.
So we don't know the person that signed off. I mean, I don't know how the federal government works. Everybody's got to sign off on something, especially something like this. But we don't know who that person is yet. Is that what you're telling me?
With all due respect, I'd be surprised if we're going to see a document that somebody signed off on that said you can let guns walk. I'd be surprised if we see something like that.
Would you agree that?
But I don't know. I don't know.
We don't know. We don't know who was in charge of making that final, it's time to send the guns to the enemy of Mexico, the drug dealers, which is phenomenal to me. It's a violation, I understand, of international law to allow gun trafficking to go between two countries. Do you agree with that?
Well, I don't know. It would depend. I mean, as you look at
people in one country are smuggling guns to another country. Isn't that a violation of international law?
Well, I don't know, but international law, I was going to say, if you look at Operation Wide Receiver, if the governments agree that weapons can go from one country to another, I would not think that violates international law.
If they agree. That's the key. Did the Mexican government agree to Operation Fast and Furious?
Not the way in which it was actually carried out.
The way it turned out.
But
would you agree this operation was reckless? It's a reckless operation on the part of the United States?
I mean, I think the way it was carried out, I would certainly say it was flawed, reckless. Yeah, I'd probably agree with that. I mean, it was done inappropriately and has had tragic consequences and is going, as I've said in my opening statement, it's going to continue to have tragic consequences.
More people are going to die, probably.
Unfortunately, I think that's probably true.
If a person recklessly causes the death of another person under many state law, including Texas, where some of these guns were bought, it's manslaughter. It's a crime. And it's my belief that if the United States government helped facilitate reckless homicide, reckless killing of other people, this is a serious matter. And there may be people in our government, Justice Department, the ATF, that if they help facilitate reckless conduct that caused the death of an individual in the United States or in Mexico by sending these guns down there, they should be held criminally responsible for that conduct. Are you going as far as the Attorney General to make sure that if criminal violations were committed by anyone in our government, that you're going to prosecute those people?
Sure. If we find that there were criminal violations connected to the conduct of Fast and Furious, I will commit that we will take those findings seriously and that people will be prosecuted. Now, when I said reckless before, I was talking about the way in which the operation itself was conducted. I don't want to cast too wide a net here and say that on the basis of what we know now, that there is a basis to conclude that people connected to Fast and Furious, either at the ATF in Phoenix or in the U.S. Attorney's Office in Phoenix, would necessarily have the requisite state of mind or done things that would bring them under the ambit.
Reclaiming my time. I know that's not what you're saying. That's what I was saying. I was saying
the gentleman's time has expired.
Thank you very much. And I request unanimous consent to submit further questions to the attorney and have answers in writing.
Without objection. Thank you, Mr. Poe.